Okay, so David's going to take you through the fourth quarter fiscal accountability report. And we'll go into the master plan.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know, by board policy, we report to the board what the quarterly status is for the college's finances. We hold off on the fourth quarter till we have audited numbers, so that they're real numbers. In total, we generally report on our two biggest funds, which are the education and operation and maintenance funds. As you can see, our revenues came in right about where they should be, and our expenditure amounts were less, resulting in a surplus this year of $9.2 million, and I'll get into that in a minute in detail. On the revenue side, we were just within $100,000 of our tuition and fee revenue estimate. That's largely a result of the good work Andy Williams does, and as well as working with projections with our institutional research office. We're very fortunate that what we received, our main funding source from the state of Illinois, our credit hour grant, we received all of our funds up to the amount. I was just talking to a couple fellow CFOs, and they told me that they've just received some payments that they were still owed since 2013. We're very lucky that we don't receive equalization grants or rely on it. I'm sure we weren't happy the day that we lost them, but several of our sister community colleges rely on those equalization grants, and they've been much slower paying them than the credit hour grants. Property taxes came in just slightly below what our estimate was, and we weren't able to find anything significant that caused that estimate to come in, or anything that was glaring. Replacement taxes, those are, if you recall, are essentially corporate income taxes. The economy is doing a little bit better, so we did just slightly better there in the receipts that we had. So all in all, on the revenue side, we just slightly under by $42,000. On the expenditure side, I have it all in front of you. All of the main sources where we typically are going to see are the largest variances are in salaries and benefits. We try to be not only conservative there, but that mostly results from having vacancies throughout the year. What I want to point your attention to is on the next page, where you see the transfer for the master plan. That's the largest amount that you see that we had savings on the expenditure side. $6 million of that came from the planned surplus development that we had as we structured our bonds. So of that $9.4 million change in fund balance, as we talked about last month, we've set aside $9.2 million for the master plan. We have allowed the fund balance to increase slightly by $176,000. So the total fund balance will be $30.2 million. Now you just saw a 34% figure from McGladrey. On an accounting basis, they show it to you off of last year's expenditures. For us, on a budgetary basis, we like to show it going forward on next year's budget. So it dips slightly because the budget is slightly higher. So it's still at 30%, as the board recalls. We have a 25% board policy, and so we're well above the fund balance requirement. On the auxiliary side, both on the revenue and expenditure side, we are below budget. This year, for the first year, we did have expenditures slightly over the budgeted amount. In anticipation if there would be any questions about where that happened, you'll see that the largest revenue that supports this, our markup, is the bookstore. I get a lot of questions about our bookstore revenue and why books are so expensive, and you can see here that every college chooses on how they will have a bookstore profit, how they impact the college's finances. Some colleges just have it transfer into the education fund to lower tuition. Others I've seen have it support the foundation so that they can raise more scholarships. We've chosen here to have all of the education fund items supported, and this is not unusual at other community colleges that you will see these types of shortfalls, particularly two big ones, athletics and WPDI. WPDI is very sensitive to the economy, and also in our case, very sensitive to the amount of traffic tickets that are written, which are down substantially. Now, we did on a budget
David,
basis that, yes.
David, when you're talking about the WPDI, I guess I recall us contracting that out.
We only
for some
contracted
portion.
one position. We contracted one position out.
And the reason we contracted it out was because we were experiencing losses in that area and for efficiencies. Is this something we should take a look at again?
I can update the board on
Yeah.
where we are with that.
We'll get you an update on that. That was related a little bit to global.
It was
Yeah.
local corporate college.
Okay. And just so I understand this, what this chart means is it costs us $361,000 for athletics, but we're making $602,000 in the bookstore. Is that what these numbers are meaning?
That's a good way to put it. I will point out to you that two of the items on here, one has been subject to an internal audit, and one is undergoing one right now. Within WPDI, we're taking a look at the traffic school, so we'll have a little bit deeper data for you about what's going on there. Food service, we have finally, at least for the first time since I've been here, been able to turn it into the black. It should be where it is. It's just breaking even. We did have to make more expenditure cutbacks this year, though, because we knew that enrollment was dropping, and that typically shows up in revenues for food service.
I know it's a piddly amount, but how could we be losing money in the game room? How is that possible?
Well, they just realized it.
No, that game room is to be closed.
Yeah.
So that reflects some activity at the beginning of FY14.
Yeah.
And you won't see that next year.
We won't see a loss next year, we won't see
You won't see
game
the
room.
fund.
The game
Till we
room's
get the
gone.
renovations going and get it up again, right? Get it going again for the students.
Are you done with this page?
Wait,
Wait, wait, wait, wait.
Yeah,
I got a couple of questions. So, student comes in the afternoon, there's no place to go and grab a bite to eat before class begins?
Yes, the model that we've laid out is to have food service close at 2:30. Doing an hour-by-hour analysis, we were averaging only 50 to average about $150 in sales a day. Low as $50, high as $300. So what we've worked with is Something's Brewing to expand their hours and food selections. So at 2:30 it shifts upstairs. They've also worked to unbundle some of their food so it lowered their costs. So you used to have to buy, when you bought a sandwich, you got chips and a drink, and it was high. And so they're now just allowing folks to just buy a sandwich. So that's been helpful. And then we expanded our vending options as well during the day. You may be referring to, we had a 1 week period before the start of school that some folks, we didn't anticipate that the students were here, that we need food after 2:30 for faculty and staff. So we heard loud and clear that they'd like during that week to have it open.
I heard that loud and clear too.
Well, you know, we do a survey in the fall of all our operations. David runs a survey, and we include marketing in it for the whole college. And, you know, I think that's something we can test and kind of get some feedback, how it's going. And the impact of that, we probably also need to survey students overnight.
We know of two cafeterias that have brought their cafeterias up from the basements to the middle of the college, like we are going to do. And in both cases, they doubled their revenue. And part of the way that Leggett is designing that space is that we will be open in the evenings, and there will be actually, in addition to Something's Brewing, there'll be another sort of coffee cart to pick up sandwiches and salads. But we definitely know that will be profitable because people will see it and be able to stop by it. But right now, having both open at the same time is what's allowed us to get it.
my second question, if my memory serves me right, it wasn't that many years ago where the performing arts, we were subsidizing performing arts. So they're doing some, looks like good things to cover their own expenses.
We are, and this amount includes a separate dedicated fee that comes into this. Anything else am I adding?
No, I think that's part of the comp.
But yeah, they.
It's part of what
Comprehensive fee.
So part of the comprehensive fee that students pay within tuition, this figure includes part of that chunk.
Yes.
But that being said, they've been very careful to make sure that they stay within that amount of money, and they've done a very good job here. They have much more control over their expenses. Obviously, they could not have a performer if they think that they're not going to meet their targets.
And I had a question on WPDI. Did someone say we're not writing as many traffic tickets in the county, right? Or are they just not going to traffic school?
No, so last year I know some of it was weather related, actually. They wrote, that's what I had heard, that they wrote less tickets. Now, I don't know if that's going to continue or.
I ask
Oh, yeah.
Renita Martin,
Yeah.
Lord
Hi.
Yehuda.
I'm Renita Martin, I'm Executive Director of Workforce and Professional Development Institute. Good evening. In the traffic area, several things are playing on. One was the weather in what was our third quarter in the institution. The other thing is that the traffic officers were diverted away from traffic and dealing with weather-related issues. But two other things played in this. One is red light tickets, and red light tickets do not go through the county court. They go through the municipality. So just for FYI, if you get a red light ticket, it's probably not going to be reported to the state or the county. And then we also experienced in Q3 and Q4 of this particular the past fiscal year, where municipalities are now writing tickets for stop signs and passing a school bus, and they're doing it on local ordinance tickets. So again, those traffic violations are not going through the court.
Oh, so they garner the funds,
Yeah,
right?
so the municipalities are getting the money.
I happen to be on the Economic Development Council in the Village of Gorney, and I will tell you, in their fiscal 13, they made $1 million in red light tickets. So it's a big issue that the court is facing.
Interesting.
No, you shouldn't.
I'm just kidding, I hate those things.
I mean, my job as a is to keep people from coming to traffic school, sorry, but that's what we try, and keep the costs down, but it's interesting. I know the municipalities are writing more tickets, but even those sometimes go through the court system and get results in traffic school, but it's interesting. Thank you.
I would actually like to make a comment back on food services. I've been talking with several groups of students, and they were not made aware that the cafeteria was closing at 2:30, and they're very upset over the fact that they have to go to something's brewing. And can you give me any kind of information on this other coffee cart that's apparently going to be opening? When will that be open to students? How will it be advertised? And is there any way to really advertise to students now that the cafeteria is not open after 2:30? Because I know several night students who are coming, hoping to grab something quick before heading upstairs to class and realizing they can't do that anymore. And then by that time, there's no time to go to something's brewing to get something. And they're not willing to pay what something's brewing is charging when the cafeteria was cheaper for them. So what's being done about this?
Well, first on the communication issue, this was something that we had to do, and we actually did discuss this with students.